Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Nobunagun, Episode 6. And in this episode, it focuses entirely on the first platoon. Entirely. Alright? Second platoon doesn't show up in this episode at all. Though pictures of Shio did. Uh, according to people like Geronimo and Six, they think they're above the second platoon in terms of abilities and power, and they're saying that Shio being with them may just put them slightly closer to their level. Um, Gowdy, he is based off of this guy who was an architect. His nickname was God's Architect. So that explains his ability, how he can kind of take anything and make something useful out of it. Um, he's kind of whiny and wimpy and really annoying. His voice, I just kind of, I don't really care for him that much, to be honest. Um, Geronimo, Geronimo's a girl. From the opening, I thought Geronimo was a guy, but apparently it's just like her hair is hidden by the crazy suits that they wear. Um, but yeah, Geronimo's a girl. Six calls her Hime. Geronimo, obviously based off of the infamous, the incredibly famous Native American Geronimo. Um, Six is interesting. Um, I'm pretty sure I have this right in saying that rather than being based off of a person, she's actually based off of an instrument, okay? An instrument called the Morin Core, right? Morin space Khuur, all right? Now, there are some legends about it, how this instrument came to be, which is probably what her power is based off of. I'm just not sure what exactly, because there are a couple of different things it could be. One of the legends is that there was this shepherd, and his name was Namjeel, and one day he received the gift of a horse with wings, a horse capable of flight, and he would ride it every day to go see this woman. However, another woman got jealous and cut the wings of the horse off, and the horse fell. And how she must have gotten on the horse midair, so I don't know, whatever. But she cut the wings of the horse off, and then it fell and died. All right, and the shepherd decided to create this instrument from the horse's body, like its skin and hair and bones and crap. All right, so, so that's that. The other legend is that there was this boy Suho, and he had a prized white horse, and this evil lord guy, ruler of the land that he lived in, I guess, killed the horse, and its spirit appeared to him in a dream and told him to make the instrument from the horse's body. Again, bones and skin and stuff. That way the two of them could always be together. All right. So Six's power could have something to do with sound or music or transportation, flight, something like that. She was the one driving that snowmobile in this episode, so I mean, maybe. She was going to use her power once against Gonda, but she never actually did it. So I don't know what exactly her power is, but I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later. She didn't really do anything in the fight, I don't think, later at the end of the episode. So I don't know. We'll find out sooner or later. But yeah, that's the story on Six. She's based off of an instrument, not a person. But they just captured, well, not they, but the storm chasers. Apparently, some of them were still alive, right? So that it was true what I originally thought, that we only saw the one guy, or like a couple of them. I didn't think all of those guys could be dead, and on that like one small plane. So some of them were in fact still alive, and two of them were here, and they captured an invasion object. They said they didn't even need First Platoon. And the invasion object, it's on the plane. They're heading back to HQ, I would assume, or one of their cruiser strongholds. And they get into some turbulence. There's a bunch of wind and snow, and the plane ends up crashing. And Gowdy uses his ability to create skis, pretty much. Skis on the plane. That way, doesn't nothing too bad happens. No one gets hurt. The invasion object isn't set loose or anything like that. All right, and but the plane is kind of like stuck there, so they need to get in contact with HQ, and their radios are busted. So they try to go to that mountain lab that was shown in the beginning of the episode, and they try to use the radio there. And the guy we see throughout this episode is this guy Gonda, who was the new guy who was brought into the lab. And throughout the episode, we see him talking to someone or something. Turns out that that person he's talking to is himself. But he welcomes Six and Geronimo in, gives them food. He's interested in the fact that they're from Dogu, and he's clearly interested in invasion objects. Um, it's kind of creepy, actually. He ends up showing them the radio, but it doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work is because the wires were cut. And Geronimo is explaining all this to Six and also showing bloodstains in the room that they're sitting in. And Geronimo realizes that there is a monster there, so they leave. And that monster ends up being Gonda himself. Gonda decides to chase after them in the snowmobile, and he ends up retreating after Geronimo and Six end up saving themselves. And we get this flashback of how the bloodstains actually got there. It turns out he killed the guys himself. All right. So yeah, that's that. The Storm Chasers, we see them and Gaudi after this. Geronimo and Six decided to come back to the plane, but they didn't get back in time. The Storm Chasers were talking with Gaudi, showing him the Photoshop pictures of Shia, which he thinks are legit. He thinks she actually has a body like that when she does, and he's going to be disappointed when he sees her in real life. But Gaudi ends up going off the plane and seeing Gonda on his way there. And Gaudi tries to fight back. We see a second flashback, and it pretty much says that Gonda, he thinks he's the Jinchuriki of an invasion object, right? The guy is insane, all right? The guy is clearly insane. He thinks the guys who were in the lab were messing with him a little bit, pulling his leg, telling him that the meat that he ate was the meat of an invasion object, which is obviously not true because only E-gene holders with AU weapons can defeat invasion objects. So these random guys certainly aren't beating one. But this guy actually believes it, and he thinks that he ate an invasion object, and now one is living inside of him. Right? So he's insane. He's insane. He's insane. All right. This guy is convinced that he is a monster, and he blows up the plane. I think the Storm Chaser guys got away. Gaudi told them to run, so whether they got away or not doesn't really matter. Who cares about them, seriously? But he releases the invasion object, talking about how it's his friend and how he's going to make Dogu pay for killing his friends, the other invasion objects, and the invasion object ends up killing him. So Geronimo and Six, they finally show up, and they fight it. Well, Six doesn't, Geronimo does. She has this crazy look on her face with a bunch of bloodlust at one point, and which is the thumbnail. And she takes it out. She uses an axe instead of arrows, which is kind of disappointing, but oh well. And yeah, they beat the invasion object. They're on their way back to base. We see Gaudi obsessing over the picture of Shio. And yeah, that's really it for the episode. I mean, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, it was okay. Completely irrelevant to the plot. It's I mean, it was just okay. I mean, it's hard to have an episode that's carried entirely by characters that are new, that were introduced in that episode. So I mean, it's hard to care when the stuff going on is clearly not going to matter later on. But yeah, I'll give it it was an okay episode, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, there was a, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's really it. This episode gets a 6 out of 10. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.